to Shocking Dead Podcast, Episode 2. This week we're going to be talking about childhood horror movies, Christine, and music that we associate with October because it is now October.
First podcast in October and a second one.
Yep. So we'd like to thank everybody that has listened to our first episode of the podcast we released last week.
Yes.
About Malignant and The Dark Half. And we talked about the new Carcass album.
A bunch of other random stuff. Gilbert Godfrey and Pepsi.
Yeah. And we you rambled and I mumbled.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little more structured this time because I just kind of was
And
pissed off.
A little more rambling and a little more mumbling.
Probably, yeah. I say it's gonna be organized, but here we go.
Alright, well, first thing, let's talk about movies we watched as kids.
You have more to say on that than I do because my parents weren't into scary movies, and when you're little, you watch what you have around the house because we didn't have damn Netflix.
Yeah, we had tapes and rental places. Neither of my parents are really into horror movies, but I still watched a bunch as a kid. Like, I remember watching, like, Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, but that was mostly with my sister because her dad would let her watch stuff, and she'd just, like, bring it home and we'd watch it together.
Okay, so her dad, I wondered that before, how you got a hold of movies, because like I said, and like you said, all we had was the tapes that our parents had, and if you went and rented a movie or something, that's what you had. Or if your friend, if you had them, didn't have many, but if your friend had like a tape that somebody, recorded when it was playing on TV, and then you got commercials that you fast forwarded through.
Yeah, well, my sister, Nikki, her dad, we had different dads. She's my half-sister. Her dad didn't really care what she watched, which mine didn't either. They just didn't buy any horror movies.
I don't think your mom said she didn't like horror movies much.
Yeah, neither. My dad didn't either. My dad liked stuff with cars mostly. But Nikki's dad just let her watch whatever, and so like he had horror movies sitting around all over the place, and then she'd watch them with her step siblings, and then she'd like bring them home, and then torture me with them because I was afraid.
Well, what were some positive memories you have from watching movies when you were little? Besides Christine, because we get that to save that for last.
Let's see. Well, like I said, watching Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was like the mid to late 90s, so like all the crappy teenage horror movies.
That's why you like them so much.
That's what I grew up watching with my sister.
That makes sense though, because we grew up in the 90s. I just didn't see that stuff until after I saw the really good stuff, and I was like, what the hell is this?
Watching I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and
the hairdos and the clothes. It's just like, oh god.
And what was that one?
The Faculty?
No, I never watched The Faculty.
That was a Brett Merritt.
Urban Legends.
Oh yeah, we watched that not too long ago. It was like, I feel like it would have been cool. I mean, it wasn't bad, really, but it would have been way cooler if it was done in the 50s or something.
Yeah. But then we also watched all the Scream movies, which those are actually good.
Yeah.
For the 90s.
Yeah, okay. Let's lower the bar here.
And let's see, what else did she put me through? Idle Hands, I like that. It was a comedy, like horror comedy, though.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, we don't have it. I'd like to watch it again. I probably haven't watched it since then.
What's it about?
I don't remember. I think Seth Green's in it.
In a horror movie?
I think so.
Seth Green, when I think of Seth Green, I think of him being like, and he's got like a green, I don't know. Just like a rambling, short little man or something.
Let us know in the comments if Seth Green is in idle hands.
I thought you were gonna say if Seth Rogen. Get the fuck out of here, Seth Rogen.
Or if Seth Green goes or whatever you did.
Please spell that out for us too, because I'm not real sure. Okay. Anyhow.
And then of course, I had to watch all the non-horror Halloween movies like.
Tim's favorite.
What?
I said Tim's
Oh
favorite.
yeah, Halloween Town.
He's probably like, God damn it.
I didn't like it, but my sister did and watched it like every year. But I would watch it with her anyway. And then Hocus Pocus with those annoying bully kids. And like a bunch of other random witch movies. Like I remember watching Practical Magic with my mom like every Halloween for some reason.
I feel like your mom definitely would like that movie.
Yeah.
All I remember is like there was a scene in the kitchen where they were all crying or something, and I was like, this is I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the really, really cool stuff until I got older. What did you watch?
Like I said, I didn't watch much. But you know, the main thing I remember from when I was little that gave me nightmares, and I didn't know why until kind of recently, I guess, was Ernest Scared Stupid. That scared the shit out of me. Like, I would have nightmares and I couldn't sleep, and that came out in, let's see, I had it pulled up here. Came out in, give me a year.
Should be at the top.
91. Okay, it came out in 91. My God, I'm looking at the little trailer thing here. Holy shit. Okay, so you know why it scared the shit out of me? The main thing.
Killer
obviously.
clowns.
Yep. They
from outer space.
They reused the props and just repainted them to look even more fucking scarier. In Ernest Scared Stupid.
And I said killer clowns from outer space in case you didn't hear me.
Yes. Yeah, they had reused the killer clowns and then painted them to look like these scary gremlin things. I don't even remember the premise of the movie. Yeah. Ernest accidentally unleashes an ugly troll.
Hell on Earth.
An ugly troll that plots to transform children into wooden dolls? I remember there was like a big tree house and there were kids trying to... It was like an Ewok deal, like, ooh, the kids win, woohoo! But ain't no way those killer clowns painted up to be ugly-ass trolls are gonna take shit from these shit-ass kids. Those trolls were scary, do you remember that?
Yeah, well, I didn't watch it as a kid, I watched it with you. The only Ernest movie I watched as a kid, unfortunately, was Ernest Saves Christmas.
I've never seen that one.
I watched Ernest Goes to Camp when I was a kid.
I think I saw it. I don't know why, but I'm 80% sure, Janine, who is my sister, if you're listening to this, do you happen to remember if we rented Ernest Scared Stupid? And I almost said let me know in the comments. I guess message me. See, were you scared of that too? Did it scare shit out of you, or was it just me? Well, Janine's 5 years older than me, so she was probably like, this is fucking stupid. But yeah, that one scared the crap out of me. And the other movie, let's go asshole.
Yeah, we live right next to a road. That's why there's so many dumb hillbilly trucks flying by.
Yeah. Yep. The other movie that I watched a lot was Under Wraps from 1997. Apparently they're remaking that, and we won't talk about that.
Oh boy.
We just won't, or I will get pissed off and I'll start rambling again. But anyway, Under Wraps, I'll read the brief synopsis it gives here. 3 curious teenagers and one very confused mummy who is Patrick Star.
M-O-O-N, that spells Under Wraps.
Is that him?
Yeah, from The Stand.
I don't know if I've ever seen The Stand.
Well,
I started reading it before. It's fucking long.
We have it on Laserdisc.
let's just go over to the magic Laserdisc store and buy a player, or go to Jeremy's, I guess.
Yeah, or try
Our,
to fix ours.
our friend Jeremy has a Laserdisc.
Laserdisc player. I hope he doesn't have one of those.
He might up in his attic or something. I don't know.
Tim better watch out.
Anyway, yeah. I don't even. Okay, back to Under Wraps. Okay, yeah, I was saying Patrick Star is the mummy. So, 3 curious teenagers and 1 very confused mummy collaborate through some risky adventures with a race against time to reunite the mummy with his lover from 4,500. Why's it gotta be 4,500 years ago? They just had to add the 500?
Yeah.
Just round up or down, anyway.
Or did they say 4,500 years ago in the movie?
How would they have known that? I forget. There's gotta be some.
That's how they know.
4,500 years ago. So they have to reunite him with his love from 4,500 years ago, who I assume was mummified with him. Because I remember him being real sad. You know that scene with the... I say you know. But, you know, anybody that's seen that movie, if you have, the scene where it's playing all by myself at the dance and the mummy's like... But, yeah. I used to watch that movie a lot. And it's about the main character, Marshall. He's really into horror movies. I'm talking about this like it's an act, but it's not a bad movie. Like, I rewatched it recently, and I was like, you know what? This ain't bad. This is funny. Yeah, it's a Disney movie, but it was from the 90s, so it's not just like...
Is it better than Halloween Town?
I've never seen that. But I guarantee you it is, because, like, the kid actually likes horror movies. He's got a kind of tomboy friend who's a girl who I think he kind of like... I forget. But she's funny, and then he has a nerd friend who's like, I don't think this is a good idea. You know, like the squid of the group. And they don't bumble around with a mummy, and it's funny. Like I said, I rewatched it, and it made me laugh. And you know me, I usually hate everything. And rewatching stuff from when I'm little, I'm like, really?
And you're really excited for the remake.
Yep. Yes, but that was, I watched Under Wraps. I'm not sure if Janine remembers that either. Because I don't know if we watched that together. I'm sure we did at some point because I watched it a lot. Because I thought the kid, Marshall, in that movie's room was really, really cool. Which I still kind of think it is. And at the end of the movie, he throws everything away because, like, oh, I don't know about this now because I saw a real life mummy and I don't think it's scary. But he like threw everything away, and I remember being like, eh.
What, do you have like a bunch of Universal Monster stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get that garbage out of here.
That was one of the few movies I watched, and for some reason, I used to watch Donald Duck and the Gorilla. It's not a Halloween movie. It's not scary, but I'd always be like, it's time to watch it, because I had like a 3 cartoon short tape of Donald Duck things, and I would fast forward to get to Donald Duck and the Gorilla, and then I'd go back and watch the rest of them. I'd watch it again because I thought that it's still hilarious. I still love Donald Duck, but I was looking at like info on it, and it's from 1944. I don't know why that blows my mind. It's not like I thought it was from 91, but I just didn't think it was from 44 because that's hilarious when Huey, Dewey, and Louie make the wax on his tail and it looks like a hand and it's waving around when he's waggling his butt, and every time I see a lollipop, I think when he bites into that lollipop, there's a picture on my screen, and it's the gorilla who took a bite, and then Donald goes to take a bite, and then he looks down and he goes, it's Donald Duck noise, yes. But it's very funny, but it's not Halloween at all. I saw, like Aaron, I saw the good stuff when, we moved in together, or we got together, because we started going to flea markets together, which you went to flea markets before me.
Mm-hmm.
But we both just started thinking like, oh, I bet that movie's cool. I bet that movie's cool, and we just started, getting what we wanted, and then I remember the first horror movie that I ever really liked was before I came here, and it was Evil Dead, and it was because my Uncle Ace and or Uncle Mike, if you're listening, what's up, and Annie Inch. He had a bunch of movies because I had went with my Aunt Ange over to his place, and he was like, "You watch whatever you want," and I was like, "That," and it was like a box set of like Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and he was like, "Oh, all right, which one do you want to watch?" And I was like, "The first one," and he was like, "Good choice." And then we watched the Evil Dead, and I was like, "This was the best thing I've ever seen." I mean, at first I thought it was a little bit goofy, but the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? That's really cool. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of scared me. I was like 17 years old, but it kind of scared me. Like you know, some person you thought was your friend trapped in a creepy ass basement with a bunch of old relics that call back the ancient demons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's creepy. It's awesome. But that was the first.
And being in Tennessee.
Let's not talk about that. I don't have anything against Tennessee. People are listening, probably, what the hell? But I wish we'd go to that cabin, but it's all but gone. I think there's like a few boards.
In the chimney.
Yeah. People like taking stuff. I don't.
Well, it burned down.
Yeah, but I mean, the remains, people like taking stuff. You know what?
Just take a leaf.
Yes.
Or a picture.
I don't get what you get out of being like, I got the board from Evil Dead. They probably tell all two of their friends or bring it to a convention for Bruce Campbell to sign. And he's
I got Bruce Campbell's used toilet paper from 1981.
Sniff it. It smells like genius. But, yeah, Evil Dead. And then the first movie I remember us getting here that I was like, I need to see more, was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that was like the first one we got? Mm-hmm. And it's the tapes that have Freddy Krueger's, arms out to the side, and when you put the ends of the tapes together, it makes his whole body with his arms sticking out. And we got one of them, and we basically completed it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of my favorite 80s horror movies still. Do you have anything to add about, the movies that, like, what was one of the first movies you remember really liking that we picked up at a flea market?
That we picked up at a flea market? The day we found Sleepaway Camp and Night of the Creeps at the same time was pretty awesome. I like both of those.
Yes. Tim.
For 50 cents each.
Buddy Tim's probably like,
Like, I'd never...
I can't believe we found Sleepaway Camp for that.
Yeah. I had never heard of either of them. Like,
yeah, we just saw the covers and we were like, those look cool.
Those look awesome. We gotta get those.
And then you went home and looked it up and you were like, oh, holy shit.
And that was a long time ago when stuff was cheap.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't popular to collect VHS cassette movie tapes. So you said, Sleepaway Camp and Night of the Creeps.
Mm-hmm.
Those were, I really started developing a love for the lesser known ones, I guess. I know a lot of people like them now, but I'm sure at the time when they came out, people were like, what the hell is this? Just like The Thing flopped at the theater, and Christine. And
Christine didn't flop, though.
It made like nothing in the box office.
It was like number 4 its opening weekend.
Stephen King and John Carpenter were like super disappointed about it.
Well, yeah. It did okay, though.
Yeah, I guess not in their eyes, but those were your favorite movies. But last thing I'm going to say before we get into the next topic, if you wanted to move on to that, was what was your first favorite major horror movie, like before we met, that you saw when you were older?
Well, let's see. In my teens, I mostly watched action movies. I was watching like Rambo and Terminator.
Yeah, Rambo First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3 of my favorite movies.
And I watched horror movies, but it was like all the big stuff, like Friday the 13th, Halloween. Halloween's probably like my favorite like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I watched that a lot as a teenager.
I didn't see that until we found it. Like I'm sure I had seen parts of it on TV, but I never saw the whole thing. That is one of my favorite movies too, because there's no reason, Rob Zombie, that there was a reason for him to kill
Yeah,
Rob Zombie.
I saw the Rob Zombie ones when they came out, and
I just love that John Carpenter called him, or yeah,
call him an
he
asshole.
called him a piece of shit. I was like, wow, that's the best thing I ever heard. He needs to keep his grubby mitts off of movies.
Like the Munsters.
I love that show.
And Rob Zombie's gonna ruin it, probably.
I don't want to see one piece of that. But you know what? Let's talk about stuff that we like.
Stuff that's not gonna get a terrible remake. But it is.
Did you use that as the thumbnail? I was just looking pissed off. Now it comes to one of my favorite books and one of my favorite movies and one of his favorite movies.
This has been my favorite movie since as long as I can remember. Like literally. Like my parents used to let me watch this as a small child.
Small boy.
Because my dad really likes it.
We're talking about Christine. John Carpenter's Christine. Would you like to talk about when you what do you remember when you first watched it? Because you said you first watched it when you were like 2. This guy remembers like coming out of the womb. It's ridiculous.
I don't remember that far
but
back.
He remembers a lot.
But yeah, like it's one of my earliest like memories of watching anything is watching Christine with my dad, and then I watched it alone many times.
What scene do you remember most vivid from when you were little?
All of it, but like the very beginning when Bad to the Bone starts playing and Christine kills the guy on the assembly line. It's like I don't know. I loved George Thorogood as a kid because of that, and I love Buddy Holly because of that, and I just love that movie.
It's see, he watched the movie obviously when he was really young, and when I first came here and we were living at his mama and papa's at the time, because we were like little shit ass kids. And we didn't have a job yet, but we got a job shortly after that. But, you know, we didn't have internet. And back then, I feel like technology has taken a huge leap in the last 10 years, at least phone-wise.
Mm.
Back then, we had like...
BlackBerry things, or whatever they were called. The ones that had the full keyboard and the little tiny screen.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're out of luck. Because we didn't have internet, we didn't have a car really at the time.
So I played my Xbox 360 and you read books.
Yeah.
And luckily I had a whole bunch of Stephen King books already at that point.
Yes. Because I remember you played Mass Effect. And it's not that I didn't want to play it, but you know, it says Xbox, so am I doing, give me that. But, yeah, I mean, we played stuff together.
I played it on a 13-inch CRT.
On top of a dryer. Yeah, but I sat there, and I didn't like the Ramones for some reason. I don't even know why I disliked them. But he was like, why don't you listen to them? You'll like them. And I was like, oh, okay. Because all I had was my portable CD player. Like I said, you know, you couldn't just be like, let me just look up this song right now if you didn't have internet and stuff. Which I feel like people just wouldn't know what to do. Or them young people, them youngsters wouldn't know what to do. But, I mean... just have my CD player, listening to the Ramones. So every time I hear a Ramones song off of that anthology set that you have,
Mm-hmm.
I think of Christine. Like, I read that book so fast. And I don't know if it probably partially had to do with that, you know, we didn't have anything to do all day. So I just sat there. We'd go down and skate with Tony, or, you know, play video games with Tony, or just hang out or something. But, like, I just sat there and read that book, and just...
I think, wasn't it winter when you read it?
Yeah, because it was cold. I remember seeing my breath when I woke up, because it was cold. in that house. But yeah, it was fitting too because the main kill scenes in that book, if you'd call them scenes, in my head, I feel like when I read that book, I just saw a movie. Because when you read a really good book, I'm sure listeners know what I'm talking about. When you read a really good book, it's like you could see what's happening in your head. And sometimes I'll confuse if there's an adaptation from a book to a movie, the thing that I thought of in my head when I was reading it, and I mix it up with the movie, and I'm like, I don't remember. I thought there was this part in the movie, but then I remember that it was because I read it, and it translated over so vividly. But that book, I liked it because at the time, you know, I was going through a change in my life. I guess we both were because we were going from teenagers to adults. But the transformation of Arnie and his life and how it was insidious with the car taking over, and the fact that the reason that he wanted that car was because he said that was it was in the movie, and they took the line from the book, is that he said, that's the only thing I've ever seen that's as ugly as me, and I know I could fix it. And with him putting love and care into the car, it fixed it, and then it fixed him. But in a fatal way, I guess, because if you haven't seen, you can say the plot if you want, for Christine, if for people who haven't seen it or read it.
Well, it's about Arnie Cunningham. I almost said Cunningham. Arnie Cunningham, and he's a nerd. He's got broken glasses. He's a little like 80s
Mama's boy.
Yeah, I don't know. His parents are like really strict on him.
Yeah, he was submissive and just wanted to be good little kid.
And then his best friend Dennis Gilder, who is a jock. They're driving home from school one day, and then they see this dirty old 1958 Plymouth Fury, and that's the car. That's Christine. They stop, and
immediately he says, "I want to see her." He already gives.
Yeah, he already knows it's a her.
Yeah.
But they stop, and he buys it, and then it slowly possesses him, and then well, I don't want to ruin it in case anybody hasn't seen it.
Okay, spoiler alert, because we got to talk about the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Christine or read it at this point, I highly recommend it.
Turn this off, go read it or watch it, and then come back.
The book is awesome. I love the movie. That movie makes me very happy, because any adaptation of a book that I like that much, it's John Carpenter. How could you not like it?
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. But if you want to continue with the plot, after he gets the car and he goes to Will Darnell's garage because his mom won't let him park it outside their house because she's you can't do that, I'm your mom, that shit.
I drive a Volvo.
They kept acting like it was an ancient relic too, because we were talking about that.
The movie and the book both take place in 1978, so it's a 20-year-old car.
And Dennis kept saying, it's an antique, man. At least in the book. I'm not...
Yeah. It's like, my car is a 20-year-old car, and it's not an antique. It's like, I have 40-year-old cars. They're not well, I guess they are antiques.
Yeah, I'd say they are, but, I mean, nobody's going to walk up now and be like, look at this antique. No. Usually people are like, oh, cool, because cars now could just... They all kind of blend together.
Mm-hmm. He takes it to Darnell's garage and he fixes it up, and then.
But he mysteriously fixes it up because Will Darnell tells him that he could use the stuff
out back.
Yeah, in a '58 Fury. I'm pretty sure they didn't have parts lying around back there.
Only 5,000 of those, or 5,000 something of those ever made.
And they used about 4,000 of them in the movie.
No,
not written. No, I'm saying
24.
I thought they used. Okay, 24, and only 3 weren't totaled. And that's where most of the budget for the movie went, too.
I was reading about it before this, and there's more than 3 that survived.
Okay, I was just going by what the cast had actually said.
Yeah, there was a lot more than 3 that survived.
I think the guy that played Buddy Repperton said that, but
They destroyed a lot of them, but they fixed them afterwards.
at least that's good. I'm glad about that, because it does...
Yeah, because they bought 24, 17 of them were used in the movie, and then they completely destroyed like 5 or 6 of them. Like, just no way you'd ever be able to fix them.
Probably from that last scene.
Yeah, and the scene where Buddy Repperton and his gang
Yeah.
destroyed.
I'm sure they didn't get that in one take.
Yeah, they did. They did that to 3 cars, and and then after the movie, they sold them, even the ones that were all beat up, and then people have since restored them. And there's actually a guy that lives not too far from us that has one.
Does he ever bring it to car shows?
Mm-hmm. Just mostly up around where he lives, though.
That's cool. But getting back to the plot, not that I wanted to cut you off.
Yeah, but Buddy Repperton and his gang sees Arnie and sees that he's like driving around a car, and they're like, "Oh, I know where he keeps that." So they go to Darnell's garage and they destroy it.
Yeah, Buddy Repperton's the bully who hates Arnie.
Yeah.
Stabs his lunch.
Who in the movie looks like a 40-year-old even though he's 24.
Yeah, but that's... A lot of people are like, he looks like he's like 40. That's the joke, though, because it's the guy that doesn't want to get out of high school because he feels like he has some control over his life because he's a bully.
Yeah.
And he knows if he gets out of high school, he's just going to be a fry cook or something.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's anything wrong with fry cook, but I'm saying, like, his dream's going to be dead if he gets out of high school.
Yeah, like Arnie's going to be a scientist or a doctor or something, and he's going to be
Still ain't going to be much.
still living in, what is it, Libertyville? Is that the name of the town? And it's been a while since I've read the book. They don't say it in the movie.
I think so.
I think it's Libertyville.
I've read that book 3 times. I should know.
And then they like Moochie said, like, I know where he keeps it, and then they go and they destroy it. They destroy Christine, and then Arnie.
The four guys in his gang are Moochie Welch, Buddy Repperton, of course, and then Richie Trelawney.
And the other guy.
Shit.
The one that survives.
Yeah, but they didn't mention that he was in the book.
Or weren't there 5 guys in his gang?
I think they might have left out the one in the book that they had mentioned, because after they go... Okay, so, Buddy gets...
Bobby was one of them. I don't remember his last name was Bobby something. There's like Richie, Bobby, Moochie.
Okay, yeah, it all ends with I-E or Y.
Yeah.
But, Buddy was so angry at Arnie because he got him kicked out of school because, Buddy had pulled a switchblade on Arnie.
In shop class.
Yeah, and he got caught by a teacher, and then Dennis said he pulled a knife. And he said, that's bullshit. And of course, the guy, the Stephen King archetype for bully, wearing a leather jacket, boots, like shoulder-length hair, has a switchblade knife, because if I had $1 for every time Stephen King put that in a book, I would honestly have $20. But he says to Arnie, I'm going to get you. You're going to wish you'd never been born. And then he smacks his hand next to his head. And after he gets booted out of school, he's following around Arnie, pissed off. I don't exactly remember in the book. There's a lot in the book, mostly to do with Arnie. Like, the plot in the book mainly follows Arnie and his downfall, whereas in the movie, it's a killer car, which there's nothing wrong with that, because it's badass. And you got John Carpenter music. How many more times am I going to say John Carpenter? Yep. I think he used your voice on the keyboard.
Yeah, before I was born.
Time travel. That's the only thing he didn't... That kind of sounds like a door shutting, but okay. But he sees where Arnie's car is, and then it begins.
And then they destroy it. And in the movie, every time I see it, ever since I was little, it just kills me to see them smashing up the car.
And they liked it. And they liked it.
Yeah. William Ostrander, the guy that played Buddy, said he's like, when do you get to beat up a car? It's like, yeah, beating up an old like Camry's one thing, but beating up a '58 Plymouth Fury
That's like beating up an old person. I don't know. It's just wrong.
or which they probably used a Belvedere, which is pretty much the same car. The Fury was the sportier model.
Did Belvedere's they came in red, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because it was easier to find Belvedere's than it was for... I think that's what Stephen King's on the back of, on this book.
Yeah, it's a Belvedere.
Hey, I was right about something having to do with a car. Because he knows all about cars, and I know very little.
Yeah, the Fury was the nice one. So, and actually in the movie, that one of the cars, they couldn't find enough 58, so they used a 57, and they made the front look like a 58.
Huh.
Because the 57 doesn't have, I think it's only got 2 headlights instead of 4.
And this is the book that I actually read. I'm holding it up. It's a smaller book. Is this the first book club edition? This is the book club edition that's smaller, and then we have the bigger one that's just... Is that a first edition?
Yeah, they're both first edition.
But this was the one that I had read, like I said, at his grandparents' house. And there's the back of him on the Belvedere. We'll post a picture on Instagram.
Yep.
As suggested by Tim, because that's a very good idea.
Yeah. After they destroy the car and Moochie takes a dump on the dash.
Yeah.
Which they cut out of the movie because
it was in the deleted scenes though, and he was just like, yeah.
But Arnie goes into Darnell's garage with Lee, his girlfriend.
And the reason, let's back up a little bit. The reason that Arnie is with Lee is because Dennis was like, oh, I'll ask her out because his friends put him up to it. And then she was like, no, I have a date. And he was like, okay. And it was the big game for Dennis that Friday when he had asked Lee out afterwards. And he's going for a big pass at the game. And he sees Arnie pull up. And he's like, oh, hey, it's Arnie. And then he goes, he's running. He's going to get that. Going to catch that.
He's going to catch that pigskin.
And then, right as the ball's about to come, he looks over and sees Arnie come out of the car, and then he sees Lee come out of the car, and he's like, what? And then he gets tackled and breaks...
It messes up his knee.
Yeah, and they said, or he would have been paralyzed if it had been...
Or, yeah, he got his back and his knee, I think.
Yeah, so he was in the hospital, and that's when the main transformation of Arnie takes place, because... Arnie comes to see him once. Lee comes to see him and tells him about how, in the book, Lee comes to see him and tells him about Arnie and how he's changing. And he's like, I haven't seen him in a while. And Arnie comes back for Thanksgiving, and he's just a different person. He's turning into Roland D. LeBay in the book, who is the first owner of that car who got it off the assembly line.
Had 6 miles on it. Or 6 miles on the odometer.
Yeah, because he said he only drove it from the assembly line or the dealership or whatever to his house. But that destroyed his life. Because it possessed him. And in the book, the main difference with the book is that car requires...
souls.
Yes, it requires blood and souls. It kills people in it to keep living and to keep being alive. And that's another instance of there's no reason for it. It's just an insidious evil that seems to have always existed and just happens to exist in this car.
Mm-hmm. They probably picked up a bad chunk of iron ingot.
It's like the Exorcist. Wasn't it? There was like some ancient relic that they found and somehow it affected Reagan? Yes. Another awesome movie.
Yeah, I watched that as a kid too.
Really?
Yeah.
That scared me the first time I saw it when I was a full-grown person.
I didn't watch all of it.
I actually had a cool nightmare about that movie, if that makes sense. It was like I was in this house and I looked up the stairs and there was all this shit growing on the walls. Whoop, bumped the mic, sorry. And there was this girl standing up there and it looked like Reagan and she kept saying, "Come here." And I was like, okay. And I went up there, and then she, like, grew into this giant thing and started making these weird noises. I wasn't scared, though, in the dream. I was just like, this is pretty cool, because I knew it was a dream. But that movie still freaked me out. I don't know how you could have watched that when you were a kid.
I watched a little bit and I got scared and I ran to my room.
Who was watching it, Nikki?
Nikki, yeah.
She it didn't bother her?
No.
What the hell, Nikki? Man.
I think she'd already seen it before then.
She's the same age as my sister Janine.
Yeah, so she's 4 years older than me because I'm a year older than you.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. I was like 20 when I saw that, and it scared me. I wouldn't say like I was in bed like boo boo, but it freaked me out. That movie, it's awesome. But getting back to Christine.
Yeah, back to Christine.
We were talking about it being, needing blood to live.
Yeah, and then Roland sacrificed his wife and daughter to Christine.
Do you think that was knowingly, because it was never implied in the book whether he was definitely like, here you go? Because he did turn the other cheek when it happened.
Yeah. Well, I think he was possessed by the car by that point.
Yeah, because it's like your mind goes away, just like how, Lee, going back to him working on Christine in the garage, and it starts restoring itself from its crappy state that he got it from George LeBay in the movie, which I was talking about with you. It makes more sense for that to be his brother in the movie, because in the book, it's Roland D. LeBay, the original owner of the car, and he won't tell Arnie and everything that happened because then he ain't gonna want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, Roland dies, and then Dennis gets a hold of George, and George tells him everything that happened about, Roland's daughter and his wife, and that's how he knows. So that's a lot of exposition to go through. So I see where they just made it George LeBay.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yeah, and to make it a little simpler for the plot.
Yeah, and he was the shoveler guy from Home Alone.
And he was also Ezra Cobb in Deranged.
Man, that's
the shoveler.
A wide range.
Old Man Marley.
Yeah.
That's his name in Home Alone.
Did they call him Old Man Marley?
I think.
I've seen that movie so many times. Yeah. Love Home Alone, but
Roberts Blossom is the guy's name in the movie Christine.
Getting back to that.
She'll start, but you'll need these.
But I think why I like that movie and the book so much is, it sounds bad, but the way that Stephen King writes murders, because obviously it's fictional. It's not that like I would actually enjoy that. Yeah. Murder's terrible, obviously. Mm-hmm. But, being a work of fiction, and clearly a work of fiction, when a car is doing it, like, you're reading a book about a possessed car and this kid going through hell, who already had it rough because he was pushed around by his parents, and he didn't have a say in much, but he still wanted to be a part of everything and just fall in line. And instead of, there was probably a point where it could have stopped and he could have just been a cool guy, and friends with Dennis, but it just went downhill and downhill, and he started turning into Roland LeBay in the book. Like when he met Roland, he had a back brace and his back starts hurting, he starts getting dark circles. All he does is work on the car day and night. His parents are worried about him. His dad even calls Dennis in the book and is like, please, could you please talk to Arnie? And then Arnie just finds out that, like, he assumes that Dennis is trying to ask what's wrong, because he was like, my damn dad asked. He was like, your damn dad cares about you. There's just so many levels of plot in the book, which, like I said, and I'm not knocking the movie, but it's got to be a movie. You can't have all that in a movie, but in the book, it's just so complex. Arnie's transformation and who it affects and how it affects them and how it affects himself and how it's ultimately, terminal for him. Mm-hmm. Because you can tell, like, whenever he's in that car and he's got those dark circles under his eyes in the movie, and Dennis is like, what's wrong with you, man? And he was like, there's nothing wrong. It's just the shitters of the world, which is a Roland LeBay.
Death to the shitters of the world.
And that's on that movie card thing.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. I wish we had that.
Yeah, see, we made it up to... See, yeah, Arnie went in to find or he went in to get something out of Christine with Lee, and he sees it's all destroyed after Buddy and the gang destroyed it, and he's like freaking out, and he stays there all day. He tells Lee to get out, and then
He gets pissed off at Lee. He does in the
Yeah.
book too. Like he
Mhm.
flips the fuck out because he's gone. Because that's his
That-
girl.
yeah,
Lee's not his girl. That's his girl.
and that's like the extreme turning point.
That's when shit starts happening.
Mm-hmm. And he's there with Christine all night, and then he knows something fixes itself, and he stands back and he's like, "Okay, show me." And then, beep!
The people listening were like, "Ah."
And then the amazing stop motion of them
That must have been so much work.
reverse destroying another 58 Fury.
That hurts. It makes me just think of hours and hours of work they had to do. It's worth it. But just to think, I know they had a crew of people, but damn, that had to be so much work.
Whacking something with a hammer, take a picture. Whack it again, take a picture. Whack it again, take a picture.
And if you slightly move the camera, you gotta do it again.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the thing from Parks and Rec when he does that stop motion and he does it all week and he's like, "That's all it was."
Because it's like 5 seconds.
He's like, "I think you need a job." But Parks and Rec and Christine, you know.
Mm-hmm. And then, and then after that, that's when Christine starts killing all of Buddy and his gang.
Everybody that wronged her, messed with her in any way, anybody that saw anything, and
Death to the shitters of the world.
and when Dennis asks who they are, and he was like, "All of them."
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know he's gone. But first it was Moochie.
Yep.
Because in the book, it's the same thing, but in the book it was snowing because they live in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I think it was in the northern part of Pennsylvania.
It was not too far from Pittsburgh, I think.
It was Libertyville.
Yeah, Libertyville. Yeah. In the movie, it's in California.
Yeah,
Just-
but I remember them saying some reason that it's better to have it in California. But when Moochie died in the book, it was just snow, and I remember there being like blood in the snow and everything. And it was the kills in the book were so much more gruesome, and in the movie, we were talking about it earlier how they had to fight for an R rating because they said if you want this movie to be successful, teens in your demographic aren't going to come see it if it's PG, because they didn't have PG-13 in 1983. It was PG or R, and they had to like add profanity and crudeness to the script for it to get an R rating. And I wish I thought it was funny what he said when we were talking about it. I was like, I wish they had done gory kill scenes and, you know, at least a little bit more in depth. And you said something like it's cheaper to add the F word than to hire Tom Savini.
Yeah.
He's right. That's right. But, you know, my only real complaint with the book, and I know they couldn't have done this, or my main complaint with the movie, and I know they couldn't have done this because, like I said, they didn't have a huge budget, and what they did have in the budget was mainly...
For cars.
Yeah. They didn't kill Will Darnell, like in the book, at all. And I understand how they did it and why they did it, because the reason Will Darnell was killed was because after Christine gets Buddy Repperton, which was not the same as in the book, it was gruesome. Like, it was going into detail, and it was making me like...
We'll get there.
Yeah. But, okay, but Will Darnell just kind of dies in the car, and in the book...
Well, Christine crushes in between the seat and the
Yes.
steering wheel.
But in the book, he's in his house, and he sees Christine, and he's like, "Is that you, Arnie? Is that you?" And he's looking through his curtains, and it just starts revving, and it's like, he says it sounds like a scream, and he's like, "I gotta get away from this." So he goes upstairs, and he thinks he's safe, and the car goes through his house and up the stairs.
And then he falls down. Or at first it goes through the big window.
Yeah,
and
the big window.
knocks him back.
You
Yeah.
only read that once, and you remember odd.
Yeah. And then then he goes upstairs and it follows and just destroys his house and crushes him.
A lot crushed him. I think the glass flew into him too.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so detailed.
Then it drove away back to the garage.
Do 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 do. Or probably
Listening to like
Buddy Holly.
Del Shannon or something. Yeah, but when Moochie dies in the movie, it starts playing. What was that song? The song from Matilda.
Oh, I have no idea. That one that's like. You know when she's flinging the plates around and shit and makes pancakes for herself. You know.
I made the joke earlier that Matilda's off screen, like throwing plates around while Moochie's getting ran over.
And we were talking about how it would have been hilarious if Danny DeVito or Will Darnell. Dee's a bird.
Yeah.
Who's D? I don't know. Think it's from the future or something.
And then see in the movie when Buddy and the rest of the gang die, they go to the which one of them's dad was it? Trelawney's dad's gas station. One of them's dad's gas station.
Yeah, because it didn't show him working there. It was just like implied.
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to have been working there, and they were picking him up, and they were getting everybody together in the car in the book. And in the book, he drives the same car, the Camaro.
Yeah. See, they're driving down the highway and they see headlights behind them, and then the person's getting closer and closer and closer, and then they're just riding his back bumper, and he pulls into the gas station. He's like, "Someone's following me!" And then Christine comes and just smashes his '67 Camaro.
And he said, "I like to see that son of a bitch come up here right now and do something," and then bam!
Yeah.
And then it hit the Camaro so hard that it was stuck to the Fury, and it backed up and then threw the car into the gas station.
Mm-hmm. And then it blows up the gas station, and which kills, the other guys. And then Buddy gets away and runs down the road.
In the book, he had a cardigan on, but in the movie, like they can't have him wearing a cardigan.
Yeah, well, he's got his leather jacket on in the movie.
Of course.
And then he's running down the highway, and Christine comes out of the burning gas station on fire. And
that is the best scene in the movie.
Apparently someone restored that one.
How?
Well, I mean, it didn't burn the metal all the way down to nothing, so they...
Man.
They
just to know that I would just leave it. I'd be like, this is the coolest thing I own.
And then it runs over Buddy in the street, and his body just...
That was cool, though, that he was on fire.
Yeah.
I sound like a psychopath. I am talking in terms of it being a horror movie. I'm not talking about, like, I'd love to see somebody on fire.
Yeah, but in the book, they're, like, coming back from a basketball game, and then Christine gets in behind them, and Buddy's not driving. They're in his Camaro, but...
yeah, because he's talking down to the other guys, and he's trying to act like he doesn't miss Moochie, because he's trying to be big, tough guy, but he's kind of worried about that.
And he's wearing a cardigan with a parka on over it.
Which is more realistic, really.
For up in the mountains of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But, oh, sorry. Yeah, they're driving back from the basketball game, and Christine gets in behind them, and then they're trying to get away, and they're like speeding. Christine's just right on them, and then Christine keeps smashing them in the tail end, and then they spin out and slam into an island in the middle of the street.
That was another part that made me like, ooh, like the detail in the book when that happened, because you're talking about the book.
Yeah, and then the other two guys are dead, and then Buddy
their bones were sticking. I remember that was the part. No, it was either Buddy or one of the guys. He was explaining how the bone was sticking out of their skin.
Well, that's later. That's when he's...
Okay, so that was
it was Buddy. Yeah, but he's like all covered in glass. He's got glass sticking out of him, and he climbs out of the windshield because he couldn't get the door open. And he climbs up to a snowbank, and then Christine just crushes his legs over and over.
I'm still impressed by how much you remember, and I've read the book 3 times.
And then he rolls down the snowbank, and then he's laying there thinking Christine's just gonna run up over.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And he's like looking up at the top of the snowbank, and he sees an old man standing there. But then he's like,
It was Roland.
yeah, it was Roland.
Holy crap! I'm not gonna read the book. I'm just gonna ask you to tell me it again. I do want to read the book. That was another difference in the book too, is that Roland's spirit was still in that car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
because
it was
Arnie wasn't in the car at that point.
Yeah, and he was telling Arnie what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in Arnie's head, but he lived in the car. But I don't think Arnie knew what was going on because Roland was telling him, but he wasn't aware that was going on. So he was just doing what he thought he needed to do. But Roland was in control the whole time, and Christine was in control the whole time because Roland didn't want his car to die.
Yeah, when he's laying there and he looks up and he sees Roland, he sees the old man, but then he looks closer and he's a corpse, and he turns into some.
That was so cool.
He turns into some big crazy thing and comes at him, but like right before he does that, he says, "That's the end for you, shitter."
And I think he has a heart attack, doesn't he? And then he freezes, and they find him, and he's just like an icicle of blood and glass. Because I remember him describing the blood when he was rolling down that hill.
Mm-hmm. And then Christine drives off like nothing happened, fixes itself by the time he gets back.
Excuse me, I just burped.
And then just bop 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 bop.
I'm going.
And then after that, that's when Darnell dies.
Yeah.
In the movie and the book.
See, that's a similarity I realized in Stephen King books, Exacting Revenge. Very
order.
gruesomely, yes. Anybody that wronged the character who is in connection with the other character or other thing, like how we were talking about the Dark Half.
Mm-hmm. Last week.
Yep. How
Episode 1.
How George Stark went off and got everybody that caused his death and was going to make him go away forever.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Christine, because she didn't want to die.
Yep.
And would you... After that...
After that, Darnell dies. You
and the detective.
Yeah, the detective doesn't die in the movie. He's at the end of the movie. But yeah, in the book, she runs over him.
I think that one was less detailed.
Yeah, I think it was just implied. It's been a while since I read it. I mainly.
You wouldn't think so.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he dies. The detective that's looking at Arnie because it's Arnie's car.
Yeah, Harry Dean Stanton dies.
Because nobody else has a 58 Fury around there, and 58 Furies didn't come in red.
Autumn red.
Yeah, and Autumn red was found on all the bodies, and people had seen Arnie's Fury, like I said.
Driving away from the murders.
Yeah, crime scenes, and he had an alibi every time, but there's no way that could be, because the car isn't alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, then after the detective dies, that's when, in the book, they really find out that Roland sacrificed his wife and the car needs souls and all that.
From his brother, Roland's brother, George.
Yep.
Because Roland dies in the book, and at the funeral, Dennis goes and meets George, and George is like, I really don't want to talk about this, and then he catches up with him again, and then he finds out all the details, and does he tell Arnie? And Arnie's like, oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Wasn't he, his brother moved to like Colorado or somewhere?
Yeah, he said he wanted to move far away from this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Arnie's so far gone that this doesn't faze him at all.
Yeah, so then...
I mean, Lee almost dies in the car.
Mm-hmm, choking on a hamburger.
Which is exactly what happened to Roland's daughter in the book.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't mention that in the movie.
No, they just said that the daughter had died. They didn't explain what happened.
See, and then... then after that, that's when they make the plan to destroy Christine with Petunia and the bulldozer. Petunia in the book and the bulldozer in the movie. Which, the bulldozer makes more sense than a giant pink septic tank truck.
Like I said, very Stephen King. It's just like he adds these quirky, weird things. Like, oh, here comes the pink septic tank named Petunia to kill our car from outer space. Not really from outer space.
Yeah, and then the bulldozer crushes another 58 Fury, and it just hurts me every time I see it. And then in the book, Petunia just runs over Christine a few times, and then they crush her. And then in the book, Christine's antenna pops up out of the crushed car cube, and in the movie, like her grill starts to fix itself, and then it goes to black.
And the gang member that was not mentioned in the movie, who is in Buddy's gang, who in the middle of this, after Moochie dies, he's like, I don't want any part of this, and they're like, get out of here. And he moves away because he's so scared.
Yeah, he moved to California as far away as he could get.
Yep.
Which I guess in the movie he wouldn't have been getting very far.
No.
Yeah, but then he moved to California and got a job at a drive-in, and then it's 4 years later, and Dennis is looking at the news and sees where a guy working at a drive-in got killed by a car getting smashed into a brick wall. And he knows that Christine's still alive, or at least he's hoping she's not.
So does that imply that it's coming for Dennis?
I don't know, maybe.
And Lee? Because in the book, another difference is that Lee sees that Arnie has completely changed and is like psycho now and has no feelings for her and just is emotionally attached to the car. And she goes and sees Dennis in the hospital when he broke his leg and everything from that football game, and then they start to develop a romantic relationship. And Arnie finds out later, but I think he just doesn't really care. He just cares that Dennis wronged him. Yeah. Because, like I said, Christine is his girl.
Yeah, he doesn't care about Lee at all.
No. But they had, in the book, after this was all over, they kept dating. But they didn't get married and they didn't stay together that long because, you know, when you see a movie and you see, like, a couple going through something that's, like, supernatural or extremely traumatic, that's got to take a toll on their relationship to have, you know, killed a killer car. And in the book, when they killed the car, when they crushed the car, they saw everybody that died in that car because they just had appeared as they were doing that. So you see all these dead bodies from like 20 years ago, along with your dead friend Arnie, who is a shell of his former self. And then you're just going to be like, well, I guess we go out to Burger King now.
Yeah, let's go get option 3.
How are we going to explain that?
We're not. For those that know, will know.
Pat and Ian?
I'm talking about a jumbo jack.
Why would Pat and Ian listen to us ramble about Christine? I feel like this might be superfluous, but I love that book, and I really like that movie, and that's one of your favorite movies. And since it's October, figured we talk about, you know, one of our favorite things. So, you know what? I don't think it's superfluous.
Yeah, but let's talk about the difference on how Arnie dies. Because in the movie, when they're crushing Christine with the bulldozer, he just wrecks and flies through the windshield and gets a big chunk of pre-safety glass windshield through his stomach. But in the book, he's like fighting for his sanity. He's like coming back to being Arnie, the nerd again. And then Christine's like repossessing him. Like he's like fighting, like Christine possessing him, and then he gets flung out of the car, I think
because she got tired of him not wanting to sacrifice himself, because that's what it came down to, because that's what Roland did. Because he knew he was going to die, but he got in the car so she could have his soul.
Yeah.
And that's what she wanted, because she saw it was the end for Arnie. Because that's what she does. She drives people to their demise. No pun intended. And then takes their soul so she could continue her murderous rampage and thirst for blood, so she could continue to be a sentient, evil car.
And it's a great book and a great movie.
Yes, very much so. And John Carpenter was supposed to direct Firestarter, but they pulled him from that to do Christine.
Yeah.
And the movie he did before that was...
Well, Firestarter got pulled back, or pushed back.
Did he direct that?
No. That
Okay.
was, I can't
I've
remember.
never seen that.
It's got Drew Barrymore.
Pass.
Well, she's a little girl. It's like,
Pass.
I've seen it. I watched it and was it Black Cat?
Eyes of the Cat?
Yeah. I watched it like back to back. So she's in both of them.
I haven't seen. You know, I shouldn't say that because I like The Wedding Singer. She's in that.
Well, she's an adult there. She's just a little girl, and no, this one she's like 4 or 5 years old.
I guess I do need to see that. But yeah, you know what? I'm not looking forward to the remake of Christine. Why does it need to exist?
Yes,
and people are like,
there's going to be a remake of Christine, unfortunately.
why? I'm just so tired of everybody being like, oh, well, you know, it just leaves out some stuff, or they had this planned for years. I don't care. I don't care. You know what? You can make it if they want.
They didn't have it planned for years. They just thought of it this summer.
But why?
And it's going to be a Blumhouse or Bloomhouse, however you say it, movie. And I don't like any of their movies. And the guy that's going to be directing it is like some guy that just works on like Star Trek and stuff.
What?
Yeah, he's the story writer and the director. He's like works on like the whatever the more recent Star Trek is, and he worked on like a few other like sitcoms and stuff. I don't think he's ever done an actual movie.
I'm just afraid they're gonna get like a Tesla or something and be
Well,
like,
it's got to be a 20-year-old car. They're gonna get a 2001 Ford Focus SVT.
that would be so scary.
Even though SVTs didn't come out till 2003.
Why would I have known that? You're acting like gotcha. I don't fucking know.
You're gonna get a 2001 Toyota Celica GT.
I don't know what that looks like.
It's the last ones with the pointy headlights.
Oh. Well, excuse me. Sorry, I was loud.
Yeah, but the remake does not need to happen.
No, absolutely not.
So if you want to, you could do a sequel. I don't care.
No, just don't. Just leave it alone. In my opinion, just leave it the fuck alone.
Just
it's
come
like
up with a new idea.
Please, for the love of God.
Like there can be a killer, I don't know, a killer 76
Microwave. That sounds like an actual movie.
I was
Sounds
gonna
like
say
a movie from the 50s.
I was gonna say a 76 Pinto, and its name could be
Jerry.
Jerry the killer 76 Pinto,
And his horn is...
and they kill it by bumping it in the tail end too hard, and its gas tank explodes. Because that happened. Because Ford put the gas tank too far back, and they would people are getting rear-ended and their cars catching on fire.
Great job.
Yeah.
Wow. What was I going to say? I completely forgot. Jerry the Killer Pinto threw me off. We were talking about remakes.
We're
Stupid
talking about cars going by.
What do you want to wrap this segment up and head on into the music that we associate with
October and Halloween?
Yes.
All right.
Well, I think you said you didn't have much to say about it, but you know what? I want to hear what you have to say first.
What about music that makes me think of October?
Yeah, and I don't necessarily mean like it has to be, like...
October themed?
Yeah, just something that would make you think of Halloween, or it doesn't even have to be metal or anything, just something that would make you think of fall, or...
Alan Jackson. No. I mean...
That is pretty scary.
Well, being a teenager in Grayson County, Kentucky, I just think... Or being a teenager in the 2000s in Grayson County, Kentucky, everybody played the Misfits all the time.
Must have been nice.
So, every time I hear the Misfits, I think of October because I don't know why. There was a lot of local shows at the Chamber of Commerce, usually around October.
That was the first show we ever played.
Yeah.
Was there, yeah.
And
many years ago. Before Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, and my old band played there a few times. And
Steel Colossus.
Yeah.
You weren't bad. You're too hard on yourself.
But we played there in October every single time.
You didn't play there any other time of year?
No. We played other places throughout the rest of the year, but for
So-
some reason, every time we played at the Chamber of Commerce, it was always October, I'm pretty sure.
Huh.
Because it was like a Halloween thing.
Was it fun?
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, but I always think of
Got mater juice on me.
I always think of the Misfits, and then I think of Halloween's Halloween. Pretty much any song called Halloween.
King Diamond.
Yeah, King Diamond, Merciful Fate.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I think of it, Merciful Fate makes me think of October, definitely.
Mhm.
Don't Break the Oath, and Melissa, and, King Diamond stuff. Them.
I can't get to it right now. Fatal Portrait.
Yeah, definitely Fatal Portrait. You know what Fatal Portrait makes me think of? The summer I worked on, or I did work in an abandoned Catholic school with my dad. And I listened to Fatal Portrait and Tank and, I forget what else. But that's what it makes me think of. But it also makes me think, like, more so, Merciful Fate makes me think of October.
Well,
That's an awesome album.
every night to me is Halloween. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, but besides that, I don't know. The Ramones kind of make me think of
Pet
October and
Sematary
Halloween.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, their horror movie songs they
I'm
did.
talking about, like, later on. Ramones, like, towards...
Yeah, when they were depressed.
That's like, the best Ramones.
Yeah.
Like, I love the Ramones no matter what, but, like, when the mid to late 80s stuff is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what albums make you think of October?
Oh, that's it for you?
Yeah.
That's it for me.
I said I didn't have a whole lot. I listen to October themed stuff all year round, so
Yeah, I'm saying, like...
typo
well,
negative.
It's not like I'm like, oh, this is just for October. I'm just saying, stuff that makes me think of...
Metallica.
The later stuff is scary. I guess Saint Anger would scare you.
I love listening to Death Magnetic on Halloween.
Just trying to find where I had written...
You
Damn.
can find your notes.
Look for my notes. Yeah, I can't find my notes. You know what? I'll just say,
You're
Under
doing
the
it live.
Under the Sign of a Black Mark by Bathory, because this makes no sense to me. It's like, I listened to it a lot when we worked at Hell at Cormark, and that's what would get me through our, like, 12 to 13 hour shift that was supposed to be 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just listen to Bathory, but I listened to Under the Sign of a Black Mark, like, a lot in October, and then we got to listen to it in the woods in Cumberland, even though that was in July, but I associate the woods with, I don't know how to put it, Under the Sign of a Black Mark. That's what I think of, and 45 Grave, Sleep in Safety, definitely. Anything like that, Susan and the Banshees, Voodoo.
Salwin.
Yeah, Sam Hain, for sure. Definitely. Initium. November Coming Fire, obviously. October Rust. Typo Negative. World Coming Down. I know that's not like doesn't have October in the... I guess that makes me think more of summer, but you know what? Stuff like that. Like, I guess depressive post-punk kind of stuff, like 45 Grave and Susie and the Banshees, like, earlier Susie and the Banshees, because they kind of took a turn. TSOL, Revenge. That album, I don't know why. It makes me think of...
October.
Yeah, and The Wipers, Land of the Lost, because that makes me... We'll talk about this movie at a later date, because we both love this movie. River's Edge. Keanu Reeves' first movie in 1985. The soundtrack for that had The Wipers on it, and I really liked that song, Let Me Know, it's called. And then I listened to the rest of the album, and it was awesome.
Now there's a train.
That was actually me, excuse me.
Oh, you're a train?
I make train noises sometimes.
I'm a train! He's a bird!
He's a bird! Anyway, before I was rudely interrupted, what was I even saying? Stuff about, Susie and the Banshees and...
Goth rock.
Yeah, I guess Sisters of Mercy, maybe. Maybe First and Last and Always. Because, having a brain fart on the album with,
Floodlands?
Floodlands. Yes. I guess Floodlands. Anything like that. But, like you said, it's not exclusively ever like, well, I can only listen to this in October. It's like,
It's spoopy season.
Oh, God. But, yeah, any black metal makes you think of winter. But that's winter. I don't know, I'm getting into jumping seasons here. Like how Rust in Peace makes me think of Christmas.
Why?
Because I got that CD.
Oh.
And I just listen to that all the time on my portable CD player.
That you still have after all these years.
Yeah, I still have the Batman sticker on it from 8th grade.
That's grade 8 for all of our Canadian listeners.
How many we got? Like...
One.
Who's that?
Brian.
Oh, duh, Brian Fraser. Fraser. Cool guy.
Hey.
Draws cool stickers. Hour of Witching on Instagram. If you want to buy his stickers, go buy his stickers because they're awesome and he draws them.
And he did some art for your old magazine.
Yeah, he did. And people keep saying, bring back the fanzine. It's like, tell you what, I appreciate the hell out of everybody that really liked that. But damn, it was a lot of work.
You want to talk about why the magazine's not coming back?
Sure. I guess the few things I can say. I focused my time on drumming. I wasn't enthusiastic about it anymore. It felt like a chore. And I don't think people quite understand. And I know a lot of people that enjoyed it also are artistic and they dedicate their time to something they're passionate about. So I know they know how it is to sit down and dedicate all of your spare time to something. But when it starts to not hit a note with you and you just feel like you're doing it to do it, I just didn't want to do it anymore. It's not that I don't appreciate the bands coming out with new music, like Vindicator with Communal Decay. Go check that out. It's brand new. But, it was just me. I don't know if people understand that. I know people have done projects by themselves. But I was working every minute after we got home from work. And we worked night shift. So that sucked. I would get no sleep. I would just be by my laptop. I wouldn't get to practice drums. I wouldn't get to play guitar. I wouldn't get to read. I wouldn't get to play video games. I wouldn't get to... I do put my effort into other things because people are like, well, you gotta put the work into what you're passionate about. It's like, I want to be good at music. I want to write music. And I would like doing this podcast because I'm passionate about it. And I wanted to also include Aaron. Because the way that I work with the fanzine, and the main part of why it was just me, is because my workflow is constant. And if somebody is not completely up to speed with me, I'm not having it. And I'm not saying that you have very good work ethic, but it's just that I needed to do it when I wanted to do it, and I had to get it out. And then I started to feel like I had to get the magazines out every other month, and it was making it nuts. And the third issue, it wasn't a good time for me, and it kind of makes me think of that. And the fourth issue I think was the best quality, print wise, and I feel like that was a good place to stop. I still eventually want to maybe do something like that, but it's just all the albums I got to review, CDs. I still have stacks and stacks of CDs that I had to review, and I really didn't care for a good amount of them, and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like, I don't want to be jerks to people, but I wasn't into it, and I'm like, why am I going to write about the stuff that I don't really care much for?
Yeah.
But the main reason was because I had to edit, I had to do the layout, I had to do the writing, I had to do the interviews, I had to get the picture, uh, permissions, I had to do everything. I didn't have a team of people helping me.
And I did some reviews and stuff, and I did the cover of the first one for you.
Yeah, but he did, and I'm not downplaying that because I think you did very good reviews. But he had done, did you do 2 or 3 reviews?
3, 2, I'm not sure.
But there would be about 10 each issue, and it would be me, and then he'd write one. And, I don't know, it just, like, gives me a headache to think of, and I would get people to do art, and it was just me. And I just started to not be passionate about it. It's a lot of money.
And we were broke all the time because we worked at a crappy job.
Yeah, we'll get into some stories about what happened there later because they're pretty humorous. But we'll save that for when we have more listeners potentially. Potentially?
Potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah, but we worked crappy job. We were broke all the time.
So I was in the red. Like, I know I was in the...
Yeah, we spent the last of our money to get those printed, and then it took forever to sell them, so we were out.
Forever to sell them.
No, it took you. You had them for like a year or so.
Issue 4?
Yeah.
That went pretty quick.
Oh, well. So where'd
The
the money go?
pre-orders? Do you think I got my money? But that's another thing, is that people don't realize that it takes a lot of money to print those fanzines. And even people were like, well, why don't you print them yourself? It's like, that was another reason.
Does that cost even more?
Yes. I bought a Brother printer, and I bought a color printer because I wanted to do the cover in color, and then the insides were going to be monochrome. And I would print them, and I had to learn how to use the printer. I would put all of the pages in, or I'd put the paper in, and then it would print out the odd pages, and then I'd put it back in, and it would print the even pages, and then I'd print the cover, and then I'd print the black and white on the back of the cover, and then I would assemble them with the stapler. I'd have to cut off the edges, too, with my guillotine cutter, and then I'd staple them and fold them, and that took forever. And it took so much money, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And even when I got them printed, it was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I might do a blog if I feel like it. I feel like all of the juice was taken out of me and all the joy, because it was just so... I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, because, it's not like I did anything big. It's not like I had a billion issues or anything, because you have to work for that. I understand that. But, I thought more people were going to like issue 4. And when I put that much effort in and got it professionally printed, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I just want to, practice drums, which I have been a lot, and play guitar, and work on writing my own stuff. Not that I don't really like Blood Curse, because I do, but you want to write your own stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why
No more Thrashdance Fanzine.
I also dislike that name, because
Those are reasons.
yeah.
Won't go into all that.
Yeah. Not that I love Razor, because that's what I named it after, but the connotations I have with myself with that title. Yeah, but that's why.
Now, in Blood Curse news, we were hoping to get our new album done in time to put it out for Halloween, but that's probably not going to happen because I've been working myself to death at the family wood shop. Because a few months ago we lost our big dumb corporate jobs that we hated.
It was stealing our souls.
Yeah. So I started working full time with my dad at our wood shop, which I used to do a long time ago, and I just haven't had time to work on it, so I just work on it a little bit when I have time.
And he's gone all day. and he does woodworking stuff, and he's making some guitars because that's what he wants to do, and he's really good at it. When he had like no tools, and he would have a hunk of wood, he'd come back in with like a destroyer body.
Explorer.
Why do I keep saying
I don't know.
an explorer body? I know the difference. I don't know why I keep saying that, but it looks awesome.
And I made I couldn't afford a Rickenbacker, so I just made my own.
That looks really good too. That was the first one that you tried, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that looks really good. Like compared to now, it still looks okay, but now you definitely know what you're doing. You have better tools, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's what he's working towards, and he's also good at woodworking in general.
So the album not coming out for Halloween, but we're gonna get it out as soon as I can get it finished.
And all the drums are recorded. I did that in a weekend.
Yeah, the drums are done. I've just been slowly getting all the guitars and vocals done, and then the bass will come after that, and then it's like I've been working on it for months, but I don't have a whole lot of time. So just hang in there. It'll come out.
It's coming, yeah.
And we're still waiting on the art too, but we don't want to rush our friend Michael because he's working all the time too.
He did the album art for our first album, Sorcerers, too.
And he did our t-shirt designs and pretty much every bit of art that we've ever had.
He's amazing. He really is. He thinks he's crap, but that's anybody that is good at what they do. They're too overcritical of themselves.
And he showed us the movie Deranged.
Yeah, he showed us a lot of movies
starring
like
Robert's Blossom, the old sweeper man or shoveler man or whatever you called him earlier.
and George LeBay. Yeah, I said like
Old shovel man.
I said the shoveler, like from Mystery Man. For all 5 people who know what that movie is, I love that movie too.
All right, bud. I think this podcast is about over.
The last thing I was gonna say is that we're gonna be playing a gig with Raven.
Yep, at the on the 20th of this month, just a few days away.
Wow.
Yeah, we gotta practice.
Yes, we do.
We're practicing this weekend.
We are?
Yeah.
I mean, of course we are. I've been practicing this week, though, so there's that. But yeah, we got for anybody that's listening, we're going to be getting tickets soon, and we're going to be selling them.
It's in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes.
Louisville. For all those not from Kentucky.
Me. That's how I said it before, and I was like, what are you guys saying? You got something in your mouth or something? Wah, wah.
Louisville. Yeah, we're playing at the, what's it called?
Diamond Pub?
Yeah, Diamond Pub and Billiards.
I think I got bit by something. Hooray!
Probably a stink bug.
They bite?
No, they just stink when you squish them.
They can't stink more than our cat farting. And on that note...
Alright, you can check out our Facebook page, Shock 'em Dead Podcast, our Instagram, Shock 'em Dead Podcast. You can find us on, well, I guess you already found us on Anchor or Spotify or any of the other podcast platforms, or else you wouldn't be hearing this. And you can check out our Patreon. Just search Shock 'em Dead Podcast on a Patreon, and you should find us. And there's tiers to, help us out, and you get some, stuff. You get the podcast early, and I think the full video podcast.
Yeah, because you're going to see me. Yeah. Look like a little weasel over here with a...
Oh, and then sorry for no video podcast last week. It deleted half of it for some reason. So that sucks. See ya!